we're not really that scary at the end of the day, at least for me.
We're
just as shy and awkward as you are.
You have vaginas. You're scary.
Yeah, you want to change him,
I'm
So I
the
think
girl that would...
And which supervillains do you want to have sex with?
Oh, Magneto!
Mr. J!
Dexter!
But ever since then, it's been love.
All right.
I'm too lazy to do a podcast, so I appear on other people's podcasts. This is PodCRASH.
This is how to Chris Gore.
Welcome to the show. I am that Chris Gore. This is PodCRASH. This is the show where you get to hear me as a guest each week on a different podcast. You get to discover new shows. I get to talk about a variety of topics. This week, Geekgirlapalooza Live. That's right. The Defective Geeks joined me on stage at iOS December 8th in Hollywood, and it was a blast. It was one of those things. I was actually doing the Batman holiday special. I was performing that where I play Batman with the Comic Book Live improv group. And you can actually watch that if you go to youtube.com/PodCRASH.TV. You can actually see the Batman holiday special. And it was the same night as this event. So I got to say, this is one of those live events that normally I come in with like notes and I've got like cards and I'm like, this is what I'm going to say. And this is a sort of funny thing and I'll do. And this is sort of a bit. And I did this entire show without any notes. I just sort of got up and there was so much that had to go into this Batman show I was doing the same night that I really put absolutely no planning or thought whatsoever into our Geekgirlapalooza show. That's not true entirely. We do a thing actually that's pretty funny where we do a fanfic. So we perform fanfic, and we did some Batman related fanfic in the midst of the show. I am recording this also in downtown Los Angeles, where you'll hear, if you've got a really good sound system, you'll hear a myriad of noises, everything from planes, trains, dogs, construction work. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's my little Easter egg for you. Also this week, I got to readjust. I have to readjust as the train goes by again. But this week also was the last episode of Attack of the Show. And a lot of you have asked me about that, what my feelings are. And I'll tell you exactly how I feel. I feel a sense of accomplishment. I was on that show for almost 8 years. I got on the show in March of 2005 when it was actually called The Screensavers and was told, they're going to change their name to Attack of the Show. And I thought, yeah, don't worry about it. I'm not going to tell anybody. They asked me to keep it a secret. I didn't tell anybody about it. But I really owe it all to Gavin Purcell, who's the one who hired me to be on Attack of the Show and to do the DVD Tuesday segment, which then expanded into doing like a whole bunch of travel bits and film junkets and comedy sketches. And it really, what I love most about Attack of the Show is they let me be myself on TV, which my previous experiences in television, that wasn't always the case. I had to sort of play whatever the TV studio paying me what they thought I should be, rather than be myself. And so I really have I don't have any bad thoughts about G4. It's only good memories. I don't have anything negative. I mean, sure, it could have continued and gone on, but that's business. That's how this TV and film and entertainment business works. It's a freelance business where you get a job, and then as soon as you get that job, you're working on getting your next job, which is exactly what I'm doing by doing this podcast, by doing my stand-up, which let's talk about that. If I could just segue into talking about that. February 7th, I'm going to be at SF Sketchfest. It's February 7th at Cobb's Comedy Club in San Francisco. You can go to sfsketchfest.com and look me up. You can also follow them on Twitter at sfsketchfest. Also on February 23rd, a live Walking Dead zombie edition of PodCRASH at 8 p.m. on February 23rd at IO West in Hollywood. You can get tickets at ioimprov.com/west. And the same night, Comic Book Live will be performing at 11:30 p.m. as the headliner, and I will be part of a group performing a live episode of Walking Dead. We're actually going to be performing the series finale of Walking Dead, or what we think the series finale should be, or what improv comedians think the series finale of Walking Dead should be. I think I'm going to be playing Merle. In any case, info on that, ioimprov.com/west, or you can go to facebook.com/comicbooklive. All right. Back to this. So yes, doing this is my friends are used to this. You should be used to this now listening to this podcast, where it's sort of an ADD-addled conversation, right? Where it's like I start on one thing, I'll get to that thing, don't worry about it, I will get to it, but I'm segueing into other things. It's sort of like we going sort of a sub-level. We come back to the main topic, which is I'm doing this podcast. I've been doing stand-up. I have a stand-up album that'll be coming out later this year. And as soon as I know when the details of when it's coming out, I will tell you. I can only tell you that it's called Celebrities Poop. That's the name of the album. I'm also working on 2 animated web series, which I'm looking for homes for at the moment. One of them you know about, Fetishville. And Fetishville, we actually just released a teaser trailer from Fetishville. And it will be out. I will just say that it'll be out before Comic-Con. So all of you who contributed to the crowdfunding campaign for Fetishville, I cannot thank you enough. More details on Fetishville will be forthcoming, but you can get another look at it at the teaser trailer, youtube.com/Fetishville, Fetish VIL. That's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm the kind of person that I feel like I have to create jobs for myself. If no one's going to hire me at the moment, I'll just make a job for myself. I'll do that job. But if someone wants to hire me to do something, yes, I would like to do that as well. So in any case, it was a fun-filled night. It's one of those things where the conversation became very organic. You know, it was a bunch of girls from the Defective Geeks, and then a friend of theirs, a fetish model, and I introduced them actually in the on the live show. It's basically Diane Garcia, Giselle or Jizzy B as she's known. It's Annie Violet and this girl Sabina, and they joined me on stage, just sort of trying to get the geek perspective from geek girls and answering those age-old questions like, why do geek girls fight with other geek girls? What exactly are they fighting about? And I think the big fight has to do with like who is really a nerd. And a lot of girls, I do think that there are some girls out there that just pretend they like Star Wars. You know, they'll wear a Star Wars t-shirt and pretend to be nerdy. It's kind of a thing. But I don't think it's any different than a girl that is trying to attract a dude by wearing a sports jersey and pretending she's into sports. At the same time, there are really girls out there into sports, and there are really girls out there that are nerds. There's a lot of them. The culture has changed. The culture has changed. It is fully. It's not a male dominated geek culture now. It is a very 50-50 geek culture, and women are proud to sport their nerd colors, and I love that. I think it's about time. In fact, I think it's taken too long. I think there might have been a lot of closeted nerd girls, but we talk about that. We talk about who they're attracted to. We talk about how dudes might connect with a nerd girl, because I think that part of being a geek and a nerd is just being socially awkward. So how do you connect? So these are the things that you will hear on the live show. I'm not going to interrupt it. You'll just hear the whole thing. It's about 45 minutes. And but before we get to that, which now I've given the intro to the thing that you're not going to get to hear, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to read some of the letters that I received after I drunkenly, I was at the Attack of the Show screening of the final episode, which I'm sure you can BitTorrent by now. But on the final show, I appear on it in a couple comedy bits and some of the highlights and whatnot. But I drunkenly tweeted that night. I'm like, hey, if you want to ask me something, email me at podcrashwiththatchrisgore@gmail.com, which you can actually do. You can email me at podcrashwiththatchrisgore@gmail.com. And I asked people to send me some questions, and I got a lot of emails. So I'm going to go through as many as I can in the next few minutes before we get to the show. So okay, no name on this. It's ProSkier5367. ProSkier5367. Apparently they live in the domed city with the flashing red life clocks. I'm a huge fan of Attack of the Show, and I just watched the final episode last night. I was wondering if there was a way for possibility of it. Should I read all the bad grammar, or should I correct it as I go? Basically, switching it to a new channel, it can't end. Okay, grammar aside, I see what you're saying. Is there a possibility of switching it to a channel? I am going to fuel a rumor right now that I happen to know that the executive producers of the show are pitching it to Hulu. Hulu is the same parent company as Attack of the Show /G4 /Comcast Universal / you know why there's so many logos at the beginning of movies? You can basically... You can really go and get into a movie late, not just for the trailers, but for those like just a line of logos and financiers. But I happen to know that they're pitching Hulu. I have no idea what's happening with that, or if I'll be a part of that new incarnation. But that would be cool. That would be cool if that happened. I would like that. I think you know what? I think it would be fun. I think I would be a part of that if they wanted to continue it. Okay. Jimbo asks, Hey Chris, so how can we get your DVD picks and not that not that AOTS is gone? You guys have to work on your, or you know what? I have to work on my reading. Either you have to work on your grammar, or I have to work on the reading. Let's both work on it. How can we get your DVD picks now that AOTS is gone? You can listen to the show. You can listen to PodCRASH with me, and I will give you some DVD picks. I'm behind in that at the moment, but I will say Seven Psychopaths. When that movie comes out, you should definitely see Seven Psychopaths. All right? Thanks, Jim, for your question. Aaron H. asks, hi, do you have a site or YouTube that you still do DVD reviews, and do you know why Kevin didn't show up on the last episode? Okay, I'm going to answer your question, Aaron H. I do have a site. You can go to chrisgore.com. YouTube, you can go to youtube.com/thatchrisgore, or the one for PodCRASH, youtube.com/PodCRASHTV. And Kevin didn't show up. Kevin was in the clips for the show. He was not on the show. I think there may be some tension after Kevin left. I'd rather not speak for Kevin. I will say that he has discussed it on his own show, Pointless with Kevin Pereira. So you should listen to Pointless, another podcast. See me throwing out the plugs? And you can also follow him at K Pereira on Twitter. I just happen to know that. These aren't even notes in front of me. This is just things that I know. Bradley Craig asks, congrats on the final show. What is the best memory will you take? What is the best memory you'll take from Attack of the Show? Wow, best memory. Best memory from Attack of the Show. That's tough because, you know, there's the live tapings we do, and then there's the, you know, what I love about it is mainly we shot it live. So when you would go into work, and then when the show was done taping, it was just done. It was over. And so it was good. It was a finite amount of time. When the live show's done, you're done. That's not a memory, really. I got to travel a lot because of the show. I got to go to New Zealand and France and Russia. But those aren't really memories of Attack of the Show being in studio. And then maybe you could even mention a certain, you know, different people like Olivia, you know, who once tried to attack me on a Segway. And then I was actually supposed to refer to some exit line or something because she was on a Segway attacking me. And I got so rattled by it that I forgot what I was supposed to do, and then they had to just cut away. It was weird. That was weird. I've got memories related to different people on the show. But boy, if I really had to distill it down to one thing, I would say, that is a tough one, Bradley Craig. I might have to email you back. I'm gonna have to email you back a specific just for you. And in answer to that question, but there's a whole lot. Let's move on. I may come back to that one. What's next for you? Any big plans? I think you heard that earlier in the show. Max Fortney. I talked about stand-up, a couple animated shows in which I'll be doing voices for those shows, and you know, just keep up with this show. You'll know what's going on with me. Okay, Shane D says WTF happened. I've been out of the loop for 7 months or so. Divorce. She took the cable. What just happened? First of all, Shane D, I'm sorry to hear about the divorce. That is, dude, that's rough. That is rough, man. You know, I've been through relationship turmoil myself. It sucks. And she took the cable, or you moved out and then didn't have cable? Shane D, just to keep you up, what just happened is, because I assume you're listening to this podcast, is that Attack of the Show was canceled. We learned about it like 2 months before the show. Before the show was canceled, we learned that our jobs were done, but they were going to do shows for the next 2 months, which is really strange that nothing completely crazy happened, except someone did show their penis. Shane, you'll have to look all that stuff up. It's really hard to bring you up to speed. I'd have to do like a 2-hour, you know, catch-up episode like they do whenever they've got like some big drama series like Lost, and they would say like, here's what you've missed. Shane, you missed a lot. But basically the show is canceled. And you'll have to look on YouTube for clips from your buddies, but you can listen to this show and you can get more. Okay, so MS asks, so Chris, who was the biggest pain in the ass to work with? And would you ever go on Kevin's podcast Pointless or have him on yours? My fave ALTS moment was Olivia on the Segway during the Paul Blart review. You looked annoyed. Wow, that's so funny. I just referenced that, MS. So thank you for that. That's funny. Of course, I'd love to be on Kevin's podcast, Pointless. I will be on that show. He's been on my show, actually. He was on our Trainwrecks of 2012 episode, where you heard him on PodCRASH that we did live at San Diego Comic-Con. So look up our Trainwrecks of 2012 episode, which was just recently. Thank you for your question. Oh, wow. Funny that you brought that up. And IsCore6471 asks, a statement more than a question. So you're a little drunk. I may be a little drunk as well. So I'll just say, if you come to Dragon Con this year, we should get drunk together sometime over the weekend. I will be at Dragon Con in 2013, and we will get drunk, but I am never going to remember IsCore6471. You got more memorable name. Okay, Space Cadet, drunk question. Also sort of a suggestion. You should make a YouTube video once a week and do some DVD rundowns. I get it. Okay, yes. I mean, I don't want to do... I really am trying to get away from doing the film reviewing because that job is dead, let's face it. Roger Ebert, to me, was the best guy at that job. And he's really no longer doing... He's doing it... he's writing. You can read his reviews. But, I really feel like that thing as a job is just... It's tough to maintain. It's tough to do. Those jobs are going away. You're looking at newspapers left and right, not only folding, but the first thing they get rid of is their film reviewers. So I'm expanding my horizons into other things like comedy, animated shows, and whatnot. Okay, drunk question from Dave Alspector. What would be your top 5 movies best watched when you're drunk? All right, I'll give them to you. Dazed and Confused by Richard Linklater. Slacker by Richard Linklater. I Am a Sex Addict by Kaveh Zahidi. I've talked about this movie in the past on PodCRASH, but you can look that up. I Am a Sex Addict. Great film. This is another drunk movie. It's also a great movie, but also is one of my drunk movies. 2001: A Space Odyssey. But what I do is I actually go right to the scene where he's going down to Jupiter. So there's that sort of psychedelic, weird sequence, and I would actually have that sequence kind of queued up. So when I come home from the bar, I would just sort of play it, and there'd be that psychedelic, trippy, weird thing, and I'd just sit in front of the TV and watch that. So there you go. There's my top 4. What would be a 5th one? Oh man. Fight Club. To me, Fight Club is one of those things. It's one of those that's a movie that I watch like once a year. And then Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is a movie I watch whenever I get out of a relationship. Sort of, that is a good relationship palate cleansing movie. Okay, Robert Priest asks, what really happened with Munn? Not much, let me just say. And I talked about this on the Spooky Hour Horror Hour. I gave a detailed answer to this, but really what happened with Munn is she wanted to do other things. She wanted to move on from Attack of the Show and be an actress. She really was an actress from the beginning. I feel like she was an actress pretending to be a TV host, right? And then Pereira was just born to be a TV host. But the chemistry of the two was amazing, and she just wanted to move on. Unfortunately, it just got real sticky with G4, where she was taking too much time off, and of course you can see her on HBO's Newsroom, in which she's amazing. It's a part that's actually perfect. I mean, it's written for her, but there's really not much about that. I really feel that the big mistake that the network made was just not being honest with the audience. They should have just said what I just said right now, which she's moving on. Or what they could have done is actually played whatever sort of phony drama into something that would have gotten publicity for the show. I mean, that was the great part of having Olivia on the show, and Kevin also, is just like the unpredictable nature of like what the hell was going to happen next. So, I don't know. There's not much of a what really happened, but there's maybe what should have happened. And I think the exit should have been handled more gracefully. I really think that once the audience learned about Olivia, that Olivia was off the show, which everyone knew, it was kind of like being a kid and parents come to the kids and say, hey, Mom and Dad are getting a divorce, and the kids / audience saying, we know you're getting a divorce. You've been sleeping on the couch for the last 6 months. So kind of a dumb thing, and that is something that I do have kind of a beef with G4. They should have handled that better. Okay, Branther asks, I think his name is Brandon. He says, hey, Chris. Hey, I'm Brandon. Big fan of the show. And I was wondering if there are archived episodes of Attack of the Show and if they may one day be released. Also, more importantly, great job to you and everyone on the show, blah, blah. On another note, is it possible to get an autograph picture or poster from you and the rest of the cast for my brother's birthday party? I can't speak for anyone else. I can only speak for myself on the show, but you can actually get, I will send you an autograph picture if you send me a self-addressed stamped envelope. Send it to PodCRASH with that Chris Gore, 5042 Wilshire Boulevard, PMB 1500, Los Angeles, California, 90036. I'll return the self-addressed stamp envelope with an autograph picture of me if that's what you really want. I've got a little stack of those G4 things left. As for the archiving of the videos, I have no clue. I mean, I know a lot of fans put stuff on YouTube. G4TV.com is up as far as I can see right now, but I don't know. Hopefully those archives will remain up. I can't really say. There was a DVD released of Best of Attack of the Show a couple years ago. I think I've got maybe 2 copies of that. Okay, Gage Hansen asks, hey man, I know the answer, but I want to ask anyway. Is there any way you could put up episodes of Attack of the Show? I just answered that. Okay, Gage, your question has been answered. Jamie Thompson, 1986 says, my name's James. Question is plain and simple. What next? I miss Attack of the Show. Hope you got your TV back. Well, I don't know what you mean, hope I got my TV back, but thank you. What's next? I think I've already answered that. Okay, Shalinda Mitchell. Not sure if you were taking personal or AOTS-related questions, but here's one of each. What are some of the kinky things you're into? That's a number 1 question. Shalinda Mitchell. Well, Shalinda Mitchell, what are some of the kinky things that I'm into? One thing I will say, I do like a woman in shoes. I do like a woman that wears a certain type of high heels. I think that's a kind of a common thing, but I guess there's a science to the way that when a woman wears a high heel, it sort of arches her back in a way that that nature cannot deny is attractive. So I'm not so much a shoe man, but I am into a woman wearing shoes. I think that's a pretty common one. That's one of them. You should listen to one of our other episodes, and I go into a lot more detail about that, if you hear what I'm saying. What was the best AOTS moment segment you were a part of aside from DV Tuesday? I think one of the best ones was when I fell. It was an Asian Underground segment, and they ran it a bunch of times. It was me. I was trying to do a kick, and I had these really tight jeans on. I had a mic pack in my back pocket and my phone and my wallet in my back pocket, and which actually further kind of, it basically was restraining in terms of doing a high kick. So I did this kick, and I pulled my foot out from under me because I was just trying to kick so high, and I fell flat on my ass. And I thought I smashed my phone. I thought I destroyed the mic pack, and it really hurt. And all I could think was, ow. I think I said, ow, my jeans. So yeah, that was a fun moment that I was a part of, was me being completely embarrassed. Okay, Brenda asks, were you Boba Fetish? I'm going to answer this question once and for all. She also says, by the way, I'll miss DV Tuesday and the most now that AOTS is gone. Well, thank you for that. Maybe I should do Streamy Tuesday, right? Gore Stream, Streamy Tuesday. What's a good name if I was going to do a YouTube thing, every once in a while on Tuesdays? Gore Stream, Streamy Tuesday. What would be a good name for it? Write me at podcrashwiththatchrisgore@gmail.com. Was I Boba Fetish? I'm going to answer this once and for all, because the Boba Fetish segment was one of my favorite segments on the show. It's directed by a guy named Mike Shaw. It's hilarious. A buddy of mine does Boba Fetish T-shirts, Rebel Outlaw. You can look them up. You can actually find Boba Fetish T-shirts online. Google that. I was not Boba Fetish. A lot of people accused me of being Boba Fetish because they know that I'm into more adventurous activities outside of G4, but I was not Boba Fetish. However, as everything was closing down at G4 and they were shutting down the wardrobe department, all that stuff, they gave me the Boba Fetish costume. So I could, in fact, be Boba Fetish. I could be, what I could do? I could be Django Fetish. Maybe I should be Django Fetish, Django Fetish, the silent D. Joey Loeffler Jr. asks, have you seen Visitor Q by Takashi Miike? What did you think? I haven't seen it. There are movies I haven't seen. A lot of times, this is what I'm looking forward to with time off, is now I can actually see movies that I want to see, as opposed to seeing movies that are actually for my job, where I have to see certain films, which kind of sucks when you've got to see, Although it surprises me sometimes because I didn't think I was going to like Magic Mike, and then I really liked Magic Mike. But it was directed by Steven Soderbergh. So that one was one I dreaded, and then I saw it, and then it was really good. But that's a film that I will likely. I mean, I've been just going on a Netflix tear recently, so that's why maybe Streamy Tuesday is the better thing. But now I get to actually see things for extracurricular activity, I'll be able to see things recreationally speaking, rather than like things that I have to see. Drew Gardner asks, he's got 4 questions. Now on to my questions about AOTS. First, I want to say it was an honor and privilege to watch your segments on AOTS, especially DVD Tuesday. Appreciate all your hard work for G4, blah, blah, blah. Now on to my questions about AOTS. I've heard multiple times from Candace, Sarah, and Matt that the G4 executives just became assholes. If not all the AOTS staff, Candace and Sarah made comments that the G4 executives even tried to... You're asking a question about... You should ask those guys. Matt mentioned on a Nerdist podcast last month there was a chance that AOTS series finale may not be shown. This is all just gossipy stuff. This is stuff that I never get involved. Like, I'm just sort of clueless. I'm the guy that would come in like once or twice a week and like, hey, what's going on? And anything sort of like a gossipy, I have no clue. I think they just decided to cancel the show, which I think that would make them assholes. Actually, that would make them assholes. The fact that they canceled the show makes them assholes. So I think that you're right. You're right. Your theory there is absolutely right. Were the DVDs selected to be featured on AOTS always your choice, or did the G4 execs have the final say? No G4 executive had any final say. It was really the producers of the show. We'd look at like what was the big release opening that week. So it's like if Avengers is coming out, we're talking about Avengers on DVD Tuesday. And then if I would always throw in something that I personally liked, like, oh, we should definitely cover this documentary, about the Angry Man. We should do this movie, I Am a Sex Addict. So it would sort of a combination of my taste and what were the important releases on DVD that week. What happened to the black race car thing that you used to hold DVDs during your rapid fire segments? I got to keep it. I got to keep the rapid fire DVD box. I have it. It's in my apartment. It's in my loft thing that I live in downtown LA. I have the rapid fire box. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. If anyone wants to buy that for a sum of money, as long as the unemployment office doesn't find out, I'm happy to sell it to you. Make me an offer at podcrashwiththatchrisgore@gmail.com. So I have that box. Do you believe that AOTS could be rebooted in the future? It might. I don't know that it would be the same cast. I don't know. I don't know. It could be rebooted. Anything's possible. They're making new Star Wars movies, folks. I found this as I'm recording this, right? I get a text. I find out they're actually the new, not that they're making new Star Wars movies. Here's the new news is J.J. Abrams is directing Star Wars Episode 7. Okay, so that's the news that I got which is to me, like the reason you need a show like Attack of the Show is because of just things like that, news like that, information like that is why you would need that show. I think there's a need that has to be filled for pop culture geeky news. It will be filled by something, whether it's an internet show, some other show on some other network. Someone's going to be doing it. Maybe the Nerdist channel. You never know. Eric White asks, thank you for all you've done for G4 over the years. Love your reviews. Hope that you even more. New York Comic Con, he asks, ? Yeah, I think I'm going to go to New York Comic Con this year. It's in October 2013. There's enough time for me to get a hotel. I think I will do that. Steve Ulrich asks, he says, thank you. If you ever come down to Australia, drop me a line. I will make sure you are looked after. Steve Ulrich, I am going to take you up on your Australia offer if I can afford to go to Australia at some point. Bradley Kashner asks, so I have to work at night, so I watch AOTS in the AM while season blah, blah, blah. It was a great show and a wonderful way to start my day. Thank you so much. He's basically just saying thank you. He watched it while eating breakfast for 4 years. I don't know what you're going to do, because in terms of eating breakfast and what you're going to watch. Good luck with that, Bradley. Good luck with that. Eugene Fuentes asks, a huge reason for me becoming an AOTS fan was DVD Tuesday, especially your bonus picks that exposed me to movies, shows, or documentaries that wouldn't have crossed my radar if it wasn't for you. Will DVD Tuesday live on in any other form? This podcast, movies come up because movies is my first love. Movies come up quite a bit. If you listen to this podcast, you will hear all kinds of movie recommendations. Maybe Streamy Tuesday will be a segment. Streamy Tuesday will be a segment on PodCRASH. Just keep listening to this show. Thank you for that question, Eugene. Bruce Wayne asks, Bruce Wayne from Wayne Tech 1 Der. asks me, "Hi, Chris. I was wondering if you'll still be doing DVD reviews." You know what? I really should be filtering these questions because people are asking the same questions. Thank you for your question, Bruce Wayne. I appreciate that you got my tweet, but I'm not filtering these questions. I'm actually clicking and opening them as I'm speaking to you. Jared Johnson asked, "Where am I going to get my DVD Tuesday fix now?" Hey, I just answered that. Pay attention here. Ian Fears asks, "Going out on a limb, but could you take a look at a screenplay I'm working on and give a critique?" I'm going to say, Ian Fears, no. I'm sorry, Ian Fears, that I'm not going to, but I have my own projects, and plus there's a sort of a legal issue that if you send me the script and I read it and it's something like what I'm working on currently, there could be a legal issue with that. I think that could be a problem. So I'm just saying no. And I say no here's the thing is like there's people that like will bullshit and just to be nice to you and say, "Oh, cool, yeah, I'll do that." Yeah, they just say whatever in person or whatnot. I will tell you in person that I will not read your script, or I'm not going to, because I just feel like it would be, I'm actually lying to you by saying that I'll help you out. What I do recommend is actually here's what I recommend for you. I recommend actually doing one of two things. Send it to a reader to get feedback, or actually do a reading. Actually get some actors, maybe a local community theater. I don't know where you live, a community theater. When you hear your screenplay read out loud by actors, you begin to feel, just as someone who's had that experience, you feel the things that are wrong with it. You can feel exactly like, "Oh my God, that scene's too long. Oh, don't need that dialogue. Oh, it's so obvious. Why am I repeating this? Oh, that speech is so long-winded." If you can just get some actors together and have them read your script out loud, you will get more out of that than me reading it, or more out of it than me pretending to say I will read it, having you send it, and then me never reading it, and I'm just saying it on my podcast to make me look like a nice guy. And I don't want you to think that I'm I do want you to think I'm a nice guy, but I'm an honest guy, and I'm just going to tell you I'm not going to read it. But I do care about helping you out, and that's my best advice for you. Have it read by some actors. Radar asks, "Hi, Chris. We met at Phoenix Comic Con in 2012. PXCC is Phoenix Comic Con in 2012. I also follow your Twitter at Taurus Skippy. That's him. My friend and I have started a geek-centric pod and would love for you to crash it. So my question is, will you crash our podcast? The show is Spreckens a Geek under the users Bottenhammer. Bottenhammer? That sounds cool. Spreckens a Geek under the users Bottenhammer. Hey, you know what I'm going to say to you? I will do your podcast. I'm going to be going to Phoenix Comic Con. We'll be doing Comic Book Live there. I'm going to be doing some, I'll be doing my stand-up, and I'll also be doing PodCRASH Live there. That was our first PodCRASH Live, was at Phoenix Comic Con in 2012. 2013, I will be back, and I will do your podcast. So email me back at podcrashwiththatchrisgore. We'll arrange. It's a little early because I know that's May, but I will do the podcast because I'm there. I've got a spare hour, I'm sure, to sit around and do the podcast. So let's do it. Sean Malloy asks, "Chris, you are the man. I'm interning for San Diego Magazine, writing tech pieces and movie reviews. Any room on staff?" Sean Malloy, yes, there is. There is room. I actually need. I don't know what you're good at. But why don't you email me back your resume and or whatever, what you'd like to do. And I'm certainly looking for interns that could eventually be involved in some of the projects that I'm working on at the moment. But yeah, no, I'd love to have you do something, Sean Malloy. So email me back. Eric Wilburn says, "You're drunkish and taking questions." Candace Bailey, "Just as stunning in person, or does it magnify like 4,847,407.33 times?" Yeah, she's actually, I will say this, like both Candace and Sarah, way better looking in person. Way better looking in person. If I had to marry one of them, I think I've answered this question before. Let's do an F, marry, kill. Candace, Sarah, or Allison Hayslip. I'm going to marry Allison Hayslip. I'm going to fuck Sarah Underwood, and I can't kill Candace Bailey. I'll just offer her the choice to commit suicide. That's terrible. That is the worst thing. Why did I put myself at that? Why was Candace included? She's too sweet, and she's gorgeous in real life too. So there you go. Jacob Descanio asks, "1, if you were ever in Connecticut, will you go see a movie with me and my friends?" If I am ever in Connecticut, and if you know I'm in Connecticut, I might not go see a movie, but I would probably go to a bar and have a drink with you, because I've done that before. I've tweeted, "Hey, I'm in a weird town. I got nothing to do," especially when I was traveling a lot for G4. And I'd say, "What's up? I'm going to be at this bar. You can meet me or not. We can hang and talk nerd stuff." Sure. Second question, what is it like? What does it take to get a follow? I really need to have met you in some form. If I've met you and, I need to have met you. So maybe after we hang out at the bar, I'll follow you. And 3, what was it like on AOTS? That's a very broad question. What was it like? It was a blast. It was a great time. If I did an exit interview right now, which I never did. I never did an exit interview. When they lay you off, they don't give you an exit interview because I don't think they care what you think. But my exit interview would be, hey, you guys treated me really well. Thank you very much. It was a blast. I appreciate that you allowed me to be myself on television. Thank you. I have only one complaint. I feel like I should have been used on the show a little bit more. I feel like when they were having the guest hosts, I should have been one of those guest hosts. I actually asked to be one of the guest hosts. I have hosted TV shows in the past, by the way. I can read a teleprompter. I can improv on the spot. I can listen for the most part to instructions. If I'm not listening, it's probably because I came up with something better or something I thought was better that might bomb on live television. But hey, it's that energy, it's that unpredictability that I think would have been fun. But that is, if I have only one complaint, it's that I should have guest hosted the show. So when I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do that, I was, I'm off looking at other opportunities, which is why I'm doing the stuff I'm doing, which is why I'm hosting this, which is why I'm doing live shows at iOS, which is why I'm doing stand-up, at SF Sketchfest. And we'll be doing stand-up hopefully in Connecticut, where I will get some hopefully free drinks out of that. We'll talk movies, but let's not go to a movie. Okay. Corey Carter asks, Q&A. Love the podcast and will miss seeing you on the old boob tube. Any movies of late that have surprised you or exceeded expectations you had going in? Well, I mentioned Magic Mike. Seven Psychopaths I thought was amazing. I thought that was great. God Bless America, I thought was incredible by Bobcat Goldthwait. Amazing. God Bless America. I know that one is streaming. Check that one out. I'm thinking about recently, I don't know, there's one that would really bum me out, which was Les Miserables. I stopped the movie. I was watching the movie with my girlfriend. We're sitting there watching it. And we're like, how long? We're just making jokes. It was Russell Crowe could not sing. The whole conceit of that movie is that they sing live. They sang that stuff live. But they're getting up at 6, 7 in the morning, getting makeup on, and suddenly they're supposed to sing at 7 a.m. I don't know, man. I think that conceit, I feel like, you know what, you get your good audio and then I don't know what, I couldn't get through it. I stopped watching it. I stopped watching Les Mis. So that's an anti-recommendation on that. Thanks for your question, Corey. All right. Kevin Wilkes asks, what were the best, worst hosts that you worked with on the show? Best. I would say the best probably, I think it was great to work with Allison Hayslip. She was always fun to work with. I felt like she was underutilized on the show. I thought she was underutilized. In fact, I once told Allison, I said, I do this segment called TV Tuesday. Why don't you do a segment called Books with Allison Hayslip? Books. I said, here's your opening. It's like books, and it's basically you on a jet ski. Because they would always say, the great thing was they would send Allison to do all these dangerous things like swimming with sharks or cliff diving or shooting guns. Me, I would go to junkets and interview celebrities, which is its own form of danger. But Allison was an avid reader. She'd come in, it's like, well, I've read all the Harry Potter books, so I'm going to be doing the Harry Potter junket, which she would do, which I wanted to do, but she would do because she's read the books. So she's a very avid reader. And I thought, you could do this book segment that's like TV Tuesday, but it's about books, and you could talk about, books that you've read. You could talk about coffee table books. You could talk about geeky books. You'd run the gamut. You could talk about audio books that you've listened to that's, based on who is reading it. I'm right now I am listening to Ready Player One, which is read by Will Wheaton, which makes the book, the experience of that book, I'm only halfway through it because it's 14 hours. But I love to listen to books while stuck in traffic in Los Angeles. On my way back from Sundance, I listened to Ready Player One. I only got halfway through. But it's read by Will Wheaton, and that is a great book to listen to because Will Wheaton's reading it. So there's sort of layers in there. There's references, whenever he says Star Trek, there's references to Star Trek in that book. And it's a great book. But Allison should have done a segment I could never come up with a name for it, but we were talking. But Allison was a blast to work with. And I would say the best person I worked with, would be Kevin Pereira. I mean, he was amazing. He was just very unselfish. That was the thing. It's like, all right, so we're going to do this. I mean, I've always said he's like the Bugs Bunny of Attack of the Show, just sort of basically just getting everybody else in trouble. He's the instigator of everything. But there wasn't a worst. There was never a worst. there was always, everyone was sort of different. You know, it's kind of like dating. It's like, you know, you like different things about different people, right? But Olivia was, she was about, the one thing about Olivia, I would get up and be slightly in fear when she was there because I never knew what she was going to do or put me on the spot. And we'd always just sort of, you know, chit chat before. And then she would bring up some horrible personal detail about my life that I then would have to talk about on live TV. So I guess Olivia's the worst. She was not the worst. I loved her for that. I thank you for all your questions here. I think I answered most of them. I'm skipping the ones that are repeat. But thank you. If you have any more questions, PodCRASH with that Chris Gore at gmail.com, and continue to listen to this show and watch the show. You can actually watch our live shows streaming when they're live, but you can also, we just sort of videotape them and just for documenting. We're not trying to do anything, a spectacular version of the show on video, but we're just documenting them. And you can go to youtube.com/PodCRASH-TV. You can visit the site podcrash.net, and you can get all these. It's sort of a breakdown of everything about the show. That particular episode, you know, Twitter, the Twitter handles of people who appeared as guests, the websites, anything. It's sort of the show notes is at podcrash.net, which also serves as our Tumblr, which also serves as our website. And you can also go to facebook.com/podcrash. So please do all, and then you can see photos. You'll see photos. I'll post photos from the last episode of Attack of the Show. I was there for the whole day, and I'll put photos up on the facebook.com/podcrash. You'll see from my sort of POV like what was happening that day. So I'm going to post those pictures up there so you guys can check them out. But let's get back to the Geekgirlapalooza, which took place at IO West on December 8th. It was the Defective Geeks, Diane Garcia, Jizzy B, Annie, Violet, and Sabina, the fetish model, who showed up late, by the way. We all got together on a Saturday night to basically talk everything Geek Girls. So here is, and it is, look, you're listening to the live of the show. So it's a little, you know, it's in a theater. So the audio is going to be a little different than this. I'm sure you heard the people fixing the roof of my place as I was talking through this intro segment, or the dog next door that was barking, or the train going by every 10 minutes. But that's what this is. Maybe you didn't hear it. Actually, let me know if you did hear it. Let me know if you heard it, and count the times of the train. Whoever gets the times that the trains went by right, I will gift with a prize. And if you listen to the very end of the show, you also know that there are Easter eggs. Why don't you guys know this? If you listen to the very, 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 very end of the show, there's Easter eggs that you only get by listening to the end. And I am never going to mention that again. That's it. All right, let's listen to the Geekgirlapalooza live from IO West. Defective Geeks, they're here. Welcome to the show, folks. Welcome to IO West in Hollywood. I am Chris Gore, also known as That Chris Gore. Thank you for coming to the show here on Saturday night. How's everybody doing? I see a lot of people here in costume, ready for our comic book live show. We're going to be doing the Batman Holiday Special, and I hope you guys stick around for that. Tonight, though, on PodCRASH, as you know, the people who listen to the show, I appear as a guest on other people's podcasts, and I am a big fan of Geek Girls. There's been an explosion of nerd girls. Many of you travel to conventions. Raise your hand if you do. You go to nerd conventions all over. And what's been interesting is to see there's been an invasion of girls at conventions, and they didn't get there on accident. Because I can tell you 10 years ago, going to conventions, that it literally seeing a girl at a con was like a sighting of Bigfoot. It was like, oh my God, I think she's coming to the comic book tables. I think she's here on purpose. She's looking at the comic books. She's like, dude, she's hot. This is amazing. So this is what it's turned into, and it's been an explosion. And I feel like nerd girls have kind of always been around, but now they can admit that they're into geeky stuff, and I applaud that wholeheartedly. So tonight I am welcoming guests from the Defective Geeks, which you've not heard of this podcast. You are definitely going to want to hear it. It's geek girls talking about all things geeky. I want to welcome them to the stage. Several members of the Defective Geeks are here, and we also have a special guest. So I'm going to be introducing them. First of all, we have Diane, the Space Pirate Queen. She's a geek maven and queen of the Defective Geeks. She loves Lord of the Rings, Doctor Who, and aliens. I assume the movie Aliens, or like, is that the movie Aliens, or like aliens, like actual aliens?
More like actual aliens, the kind that Mulder chases, because I want to get closer to Mulder, because he's the love of my life since I was in 4th grade.
Wow. Mulder or David Duchovny?
Boat.
Nice. Now we also have Giselle, also known as Jizzy B. Jizzy B, really? Jizzy B, come on stage. She's a writer and a wine addict, and she grew up watching Star Trek and Star Wars. Okay, she goes both ways. And she has nightmares about the Joker, but she obsesses about Batman. I can relate to that. Jizzy B, give her a big hand. So you obsess about Batman? Speaking of the microphone.
I do. I've been obsessed with Batman since I was like a really, really little kid, like when I was maybe about 2. Like my parents introduced me actually to the movie, the Tim Burton, Michael Keaton one, and ever since then it's been love.
Well, did you used to take a towel when you got out of the tub when you're little and like tie it around your neck and run around with like a superhero cape that was a towel?
When I was little, as you mean, I still do that right now?
Yeah, that's exactly. Like,
Yes,
when you were little, I mean, like, you know, do you
like
still
yesterday, like I'm still little. I'm about like this big, so I'm still little. I still do
Precisely. Now, your podcast, for those of you who don't know, I mean, you guys talk about everything geeky, like comic books, nerdy stuff, but from the perspective of a woman. So how does that, from women and female geeks, like how is that different? Like, how is it different? Like, I can be into Captain Kirk, you could be into Captain Kirk. What's the difference?
Well, for those who have never listened to our podcast, our intro is actually Kevin Smith. He's introducing our podcast. And I just like how he says, oh, so these are geek girls. So they're, instead of them talking like, oh, Thor's going to kick your ass, they're talking like, oh, Thor is so sensitive.
He's so misunderstood.
So that's apparently the perspective of geek girls. But yeah.
So you're much more understanding of villains, is what you're saying. Is that like most of the villains, you're like, you know, I don't know, because it's so funny. Because whenever I talk to a geek girl about stuff, they always like the bad guys. They always like the bad guys, and I kind of feel like, well, it's just as true in real life as it is in fiction.
It's true. Ever since the Avengers movie came out, like this whole Loki movement happened.
Wait, okay, I don't know about the Loki. Tell me about the Loki movement.
So everybody I know just have a crush on Loki ever since the Avengers movie came out. Like, he's one of those, oh, he's just misunderstood. He's a bad guy. And I'm like, he's kind of a dick, you guys.
I think it's just like an inherently female thing because you just want to like nurture him and make him feel better.
Make him better.
Yeah, you want to change him.
I'm
so I
the
think
girl that would change Loki.
Exactly, like applicable to bad guys and villains. Like you just want to be the one that changes them and makes them better.
But if we're talking Avengers world here, I mean, Steve Rogers, muscular, attractive guy, also a virgin. You guys could, no, think about it, because remember in Captain America, he like, whoa, what happened? And
no one followed.
That was a chair. Okay. That was a chair. But in Captain America, he never danced with that girl, and he was supposed to have a date.
So sad.
And so then he crash landed in Antarctica, was frozen for. He's basically the world's oldest living virgin.
Yeah, I mean, what I find, like this burgeoning of, there's a lot of girls now on Tumblr that are obsessed with Avengers, and there's just this whole movement of, oh, so sympathetic towards all the superheroes, like, Captain America, oh, he never got the girl, I just want to be his girlfriend now and show him the ways, because he is a 40-year-old person or 60-year-old person.
70. I think 70, yeah. Well, let's we're gonna get into a Geek Girl Smackdown. And in order to do that, we're going to need a couple other geek girls to join us on stage. So let me introduce. I have it all written down on a piece of paper.
Actually, I think one of them is still not here.
Oh, still not here? Okay.
Yeah.
Which one?
Annie.
Okay.
She's late.
But
unless she's out there.
Sabina is here. Sabina is the baby. Come on up on stage, Sabina. Sabina is the baby of the Defective Geeks. She is adorkable. It's spelled correctly. Yes. She's also a writer. Here, you guys have to share chairs and microphones. So get up close, or you can actually slide that and share it. Yeah, and speak into the mic. So what are your obsessions and interests, and which supervillains do you want to have sex with?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Interests. Filmmaking. I just want to make movies. I like horror movies and sci-fi.
Villains. Well, Loki, definitely. Norman Bates. You know.
Dexter? Are you into Dexter?
Yes,
I love
definitely
Dexter.
a Dexter. I'm really liking this season with his new lady love interest, who is also kind of dangerous.
So you're into like murderers and people who want to take over the earth.
Maybe.
Well, okay, yeah. So you have the same kinds of obsessions as your colleagues.
Definitely.
Cool. All right. Well, I invited you here because basically I want some questions answered. I think a lot of people, including people here in the audience, want some questions answered about geek girls. First of all, how do you get with a geek girl? And I think that there's a couple of guys here that would like the answer to that question. I'm looking at the guys sitting by themselves, which is pretty much all the guys in the audience. There's one guy sitting next to a girl with a Boba Fett sweatshirt. That man has found true love. He's having sex with a geek girl. So the number one question is that we all want answered, because I can feel your questions. I can feel them through osmosis. How do you get the attention of a geek girl without being a serial killer or a supervillain?
That's a tough question. I'm just kidding. Sabina, go ahead.
Honestly, I think as a geek girl, I want to know how to approach like a shy geek guy. Honestly, like I've been in situations where.
Are you shy and awkward also?
I'm socially awkward, but like it gets really bad. I have myself a really bad geek dating story where I'm texting someone, and I was the one who was really flustered and embarrassed because this guy, he's like, let's go see Beauty and the Beast, and we'll hang out and go to the movies, and I'll provide some edibles. And I was like, edibles? I am really naive about some things. I'll let you guys know. So
She's very
when he
young.
said edibles, I'm thinking the fruit arrangement, like the edible arrangements.
Yeah, those are delicious. Those are awesome.
So I messaged my friend, and I'm like, how do I tell this guy that I don't really like fruit or like pineapples or anything like that? I don't like these edible arrangements. And she's like, hun, he doesn't mean edible fruit. He means edible weed. And I was like, oh, okay. And then
what was it like? What was that edible like?
I clammed up. I didn't know what to message back, and it kind of just like, I didn't want to seem uncool and be like, I don't do that stuff, and like maybe have him turn me down or something.
So he failed by offering you an edible.
In a way, because I didn't know how to react to that. I mean, I'm not against it. I've never had like the opportunity to have one, but
wow. Well, what do you guys think in terms of like if a guy is going to get your attention, what does he need to do? Because obviously there's not a lot of people here that are supervillains. Although that would be really fun. Wouldn't it be fun to just dress in costume? There's a guy here in costume, right? There's people here in costume.
I see a couple of Santa Clauses.
Because I actually have I have masks like these, and I will actually wear them to the grocery store without saying anything to anybody, just for no reason whatsoever. Or what I like to do is I have a full tuxedo, and I'll wear it to Ralph's, this grocery store, and I'll just put a little bit of fake blood on it, which I have a fake blood kit in. I have a makeup kit in my car that has fake blood, and just shop because I want to have a costume that tells a story.
yes.
Something that actually, that's a true thing that I do for fun. It just makes people, actually in Hollywood you don't get that many looks because people just think that you just got off work or something, right? They don't think that you actually got in a fight in a tuxedo. But other than being a supervillain, what can a guy do to get your attention?
I mean, on the note of, because I'm a little bit older than these two, not that much older, but old enough where I'm kind of over the bad boy face. Like, these guys will still swoon over, like, oh, he's such a bad boy. And I'm like, I just want a Mulder who's awkward and lives in his basement and researches aliens. And I'm just like, you're so cute, I think, for the most part, I find myself pretty approachable. Like, guys do talk to me, and I have a fan page on Facebook, and I get messages all the time.
What's your fan page?
Yeah.
Guys, you've got your mobile devices.
Fan
you
page.
could use
I
it
just
right
started
now.
it
Get
too.
on the fan page.
Facebook.com /Pirate but I'd rather you guys like the Defective Geeks Facebook.
Like them both.
Yeah, like
you can
them both.
multiple likes.
And I get guys messaging me, oh, can I take you out sometime? And I actually have a boyfriend already, so I'm the one who feels bad. Like, I'm sorry.
All right, Giselle, let's talk to you. what do you like to get it's for a guy to get your attention. Like, what do they have to do?
Well, I think the first thing is you have to remember
And
that
are you single?
I am
very
single.
And I don't like.
Boy.
Let's not use the word single because single can sound.
She's available.
I'm available.
It can sound.
She's a
With
beautiful
reference to guys, it
girl.
can sound pathetic.
We'll
I
have
think
a bidding after the show.
you could say. I think the better thing to say is you should just call yourself relationship free.
I am
Yes.
relationship. My name
She's
is Giselle,
here
and
to
I am
have
relationship
fun.
free.
You're
Relationship
here
free
to
'cause
have
it's
fun.
It's like everything good in the grocery store is free. It's like it's fat free. Well, then I want that cookie.
That's
it's
right.
sugar free. I want that soda. Anything free. So relationship free. I think is a better
I
thing.
like that.
You start using that term. Let's start a Facebook like page for relationship free people.
I think we should
so we
need
can
to
all
do
meet.
that. All right. Well, I think what I want to say is you have to remember that we're not really that scary at the end of the day, at least for me.
We
We're
are.
just as shy and
Yes.
awkward as you are.
Can I just interrupt you for a second? You have vaginas. You're scary.
We do
We're
have the
scared
power.
already.
We have the power.
But really, remember, we are just as shy and awkward as you are. I mean, because I am very shy and awkward and totally oblivious. Like, half the time you have to have a neon sign above you saying, I am hitting on you. Because I won't know. I'll just be like, oh, da-da-da.
Guys.
I can't tell. Like, I'm just...
Don't listen to any of this right now. Plug your ears. I will trust you. Guys, hit on her.
Yes.
In the bar after this, you all have to hit
After the show,
on
I
Giselle
want all the single boys talking to Giselle after the show and buying her drinks, lots of drinks.
because she has no idea she's being hit on. If you fail, who cares? And secondly, just think of it as practice. I want every guy here to tweet about that. I will retweet the people who hit on Giselle and tell me about your experiences. Okay, now, but I invited you all here not only to find out how these guys can date geek girls, because I find out they've really invaded the nerd scene, so to speak. But also, I want some questions answered, because unbeknownst to me, as like a fan of geek girls and cosplay and all that stuff, why do geek girls always fight? They're always fighting each other. Why are they always fighting? And they're fighting over things that are just as stupid as guys fight
Annie,
over.
she's here.
Oh, Annie's here. Let's introduce Annie to the stage. Come on up, Annie. You came at a really good time. Annie is a... wait a sec. What? She's a fetish model. She's a fetish model. She's a cosplayer. She's a literature nerd. She has a fetish for words. And she loves Lord of the Rings. And she's relationship free. Wait, are you?
No, she's not.
Lie, please. Just lie.
Yes.
She's relationship free, and she's on our stage. Give a big hand, Annie! And you've got a fan page too, right? Like you have a fan page for your fetish model stuff. And what is it? Just while we're standing here on stage, just you and I talking. What is the page called?
I don't have the actual link, but if you search me, Annie
gonna
Violet,
search.
you can find me. It's like the first thing that pops up.
Annie Violet. So tell us, how did you get into cosplay, and you're a nerd girl? What are your obsessions, and how did you just get into the whole scene?
I think I started around 10 years old. I was into the whole Japanese subculture, so I was into everything J-pop. I'm a total otaku, so I'm like, I love anime, I love manga. Yeah.
Nice.
So I love anime, I love manga, and I love American-style comic books, too. So I was obsessed with Batman since I was like 4 years old. So I have collectibles, I have comic books, I have everything Batman.
And I like your ring. I'm also into Batman. I just want to throw that out there, and you should stick around for our Batman Holiday Special, Comic Book
Oh,
Live,
you told me about that.
later tonight. So you're stick around because that ring, yeah, stick around for that show.
I don't think
It's
I'm
gonna
going
be
to win
awesome.
by just my ring alone, though. So
No, you're like the total. You're like a nerd girl that's into Batman, or as I call the total package. But what I want to talk about is the fights between nerd girls. We're seeing this happen constantly, right? It's like because there's like the nerd girls, which I look. I know. I mean, I know Diane. I know you and Jizzy B and Sabina. We met. Annie, we just met. But I'm just buying. You guys are legit nerd girls, but there are like fights between nerd girls. It's like nerd girl wars. There's the war on tell me about these wars, because a lot of guys here don't even know that this is happening.
So just a little tidbit, like how me and Annie met is over Twitter. And this is related because when she added me, like she's my little fetish model, I was like, is this a spam bot? Is this one of those porn spam bot? So yeah, so I didn't add her back for the longest time until she started, replying to me on Twitter when I was talking about Lord of the Rings. She's like, I love Lord of the Rings. I was like, oh, it's a real girl, and she likes Lord of the Rings. Oh my God!
I did the countdown.
And then
I did the comic countdown for like 2 years.
And
Almost
that's
here,
how.
guys. It's
and-
almost here.
And I was like, okay, I'm going to interview her for our website, defectivegeeks.com, because I was like, this is interesting because I've never actually, I've known a lot of cosplayers, but I've never known, a cosplay fetish model personally and actually talked to them about, them being real geeks. Because you see them at conventions all the time, and people, there's this movement of, boot babes are just are fake geek girls. They just get paid to be there. And I'm like, but there's a real one that's a real nerd. And I'm like, I guess Annie would have examples of your own experiences with that at conventions.
Yeah.
With girls.
Most of the booth babes, the more aesthetically pleasing, attractive ones are the ones that are models who are getting paid to be there. Whereas I guess the more authentic geek girls are the ones that, they cosplay and they're actually there, they pay to be there. So it's a different kind of atmosphere for both.
Okay, so before we actually get into the elements and what makes a real geek girl, we have a bit of fanfic theater. Can we say it all? Can we say it all together? And I want to hear some applause because you guys are like the quietest audience ever. Come on, I want to hear. There's a bunch of people here, and I know some of you just got your first drink, but let's get the second drink and let's get into it. So we're about to do a little fanfic theater. And just to explain what fanfic is, if you're on the internet, fanfic is kind of a big thing where people will take some of their favorite area fandom and they'll write their own fan fiction. And we actually have a story here that we're going to read. Oh, wow. And it's 3 parts. So we're going to be reading this throughout. And what parts are we playing, Giselle? Because you organize this.
I shall be the narrator. Miss Sabina here is going to be Robin, and Chris Gore is going to be Batman.
Oh, good. This will be good practice. I'm going to put on my mask.
Don the cowl.
Okay, they're setting it up. This is
right.
Fanfic Theater Part 1.
Part 1. When Dick walks out of the communal showers at the Batcave after a very intense night of patrolling, Bruce makes a show of not looking.
It's all about the chase.
Bruce thinks to himself, after all, half of the fun, the pleasure, is the anticipation of the hunt. Dick's young body is covered in the scalding hot water from the communal shower in the Batcave. He walks out with a towel barely covering himself. Bruce's eyebrows quiver, thinking about Dick's nubile figure.
I can't seem to find my shorts.
Says Dick, sincerely concerned. Bruce smiles to himself. Bruce is looking at the papers in front of him, but really rather focused on the mental image of Dick's sleek body.
I swear I had a spare set in my bag.
Dick says into the overbearing silence of the cave as the water drips from his body.
In fact, my bag is missing too.
How little he knows.
Bruce mutters to himself as he looks down at Dick's bag that he intentionally hid under his own desk. He imagines every drop dripping off of Dick's body.
I have your bag, Dick.
Bruce announces to the confused young man.
But you'll have to earn it. End scene. That's part 1 of Fanfic Theater. We'll get to part 2 later in the show. That's great, Giselle. That's a great job selecting that piece, to speak.
It's a lot of fun scouring the internet for awesomely bad fan fiction. It's a cross that I must bear, but I'm willing to do it.
But I appreciate that you went for a Dick Grayson piece of fanfic and not a Jason Todd or one of the other Robins. So that's good. We'll have more Dick and Bruce stories coming up. But what are the elements of a real geek girl? Because I see these fights break out online, and I'm like, well, that girl's hot. She dresses in a slave Leia outfit, and that girl's cool, and she tweets funny stuff, and that girl, I think she reads But then you see them, invariably, they'll end up being these Twitter wars between girls that are into,
Tumblr wars.
What are they? What was that?
Tumblr wars.
Tumblr wars between geek girls. So what is like something you can see in like a fake geek girl? What are the things? What are the elements of a fake geek girl and a real geek girl?
It's really hard to tell without feeling like you're being judgmental yourself, because we discussed this a lot on the podcast, and at the end of the day, we're like, who cares? But
then where do these fights come from?
It's. I feel like sometimes like. I don't know. I guess it's the thing with competition with girls sometimes. Like, they feel self-conscious, so then, like, they call each other out. They get into fights with each other. And I feel like it comes from a place of being self-conscious about yourself, because our whole thing is just love yourself. Love your fellow girl geek, Like, she may not be as knowledgeable as you are, but, hey, as Diane said, who cares? Like, at the end of the day, who
there's
cares?
this whole, like, some geek girls are just pandering because they're hot, and then they get attention when they go to the convention, and that's all they really do. And so, like, a lot of geek girls who I don't know, I guess it's just the way girls are. Like, you see someone hotter than you and you don't like them automatically.
I think one of the things we're seeing right now is that, this is like a really big conversation that's been on the internet a lot. And, with pop culture and the internet, you have like this expansion of what could be considered fandoms and stuff to geek out about. Before you used to like have like little enclaves of like, you knew a select group of people before the internet got all popular, like, oh yeah, we like this stuff. But I think one of the issues that's been happening is that a lot of people are holding other people to what their idea of being a geek is.
It's changing.
It's changing. It's
a lot.
Always changing.
I mean, when the Lord of the Rings movies came out 10 years ago, I remember being on Lord of the Rings forums, and I felt so bad for these guys because just the Legolas fangirls took over, and like these boys are just like, oh my God, we're trying to talk like normal people, but then they'll be like, Legolas is the best thing ever. He's so hot. Orlando Bloom is so dreamy.
But it's funny you mentioned the competitive thing, because tonight, unbeknownst to you, we will actually be crowning Geek Girl of the Year. That's going to be happening tonight, and the audience is going to participate in that by show of applause. One of you, only one of you, will be the Geek Girl of the Year. So everyone here in the audience, pay attention, because we'll be getting to that before the end of the show. How about another piece of fanfic? Yeah. Should we get to that?
I think we should continue.
I think I need my mask. Part 2.
Crossing these microphones.
When we last left Dick and Bruce, Batman said, "But you'll have to earn it."
Oh, my mask. All right. Earn it. I don't understand, Bruce.
Address me as Master Wayne when we are training my young Dick.
Bruce looks at Dick's form and he feels the blood rush to his face. He closes his eyes, but it's already too late for him. The image of Dick's mostly naked body winds up seeming etched into his eyes to the point where Bruce can remember the exact placement of the droplets of water making their way down Dick's scarred chest to the knotted up towel around his trim waist.
Master Wayne.
Dick says, so confused, Bruce cannot help but find his confusion intoxicating.
What must I do?
Do you know why I chose you, my young Dick? When I saw you at that circus, you were throbbing with potential. I mean to see that potential fulfilled.
I want to be a good pupil, your pupil. Fill me with your knowledge, Master Wayne. What must I do?
Drop your towel, my young Dick. We shall do a training exercise I learned long ago from my old master, Ra's al Ghul. It is an ancient skill that has initiated many. If you have pleased me, then I shall let you have your shorts.
I'll do anything.
The exercise is called Crossing Swords. End scene. Okay, back to Defective Geeks. Back to the Defective Geeks here. That was fun, I think. Robin?
That 50 Shades of Grey started as a fanfic, so I mean, you might see this on the...
Right. This could be, this. I have no idea where this is going.
50 Shades of Batcave.
I don't know who the villain is in this episode of Batman. I'm really curious to find out who the villain is going to be. It'll be great when they get to that part of the story. But let's get back to fake geek girls, because these fights come up. What sort of like you can smell a fake geek girl? You know what I mean? It's sort of like when you're in Hollywood, as we are tonight, and you can see the girls that can't walk in heels. You know, it's often been described as like, you know, Bambi trying to walk for the first time. It's like that kind of like she can't really walk in heels, so, you know, go with a pair of ballet flats, ladies, if you don't have that skill. Don't throw on those stilettos just because you got them cheap. But what is there like identifying factors that are the fake geek girls all have in common?
Twilight fangirls.
So those aren't real geek girls. Thank you for saying that. Should get a huge applause, actually. That should get a huge applause.
For me, if they aren't passionate about it, like if they're just not into it, you try to talk about it with them, and they'll just be like, "Well, I don't really know what you're talking about." Like,
and by passion, I think what you mean is, I think I know where you're going with this. By passion, I think you mean just like you're disagreeing or you're sticking to your guns on something.
yeah, like they're sincere about what they're talking about. They care. Like they're really into it. Like if you try to engage in a conversation with them, and they just don't like seem like they really care, then that's how you know they may be fake.
Exactly. Like, for example, like, do you like the old Star Trek or do you like the new Star Trek?
What?
Exactly. I like them both. No, you don't. One is better. There's a better one that, well, I think that Shatner's Kirk, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I just saw that Star Trek Into Darkness trailer. What the fuck was that? What the fuck was that trailer?
Awesome.
I don't know that it was awesome. I don't know that it was awesome.
Really?
I don't know that it was awesome because what the fuck? It didn't seem like Star Trek. It did not seem like Star Trek to me.
Who's William Shatner?
I'm
kidding.
Well, no. Well, Shatner.
Expedia? Travelocity. One or the other. I'm kidding.
But that new Star Trek trailer, I mean, everyone's sort of guessing that Benedict Cumberbatch plays Khan.
Why are they pussyfooting around that, though? I don't understand.
It's stupid, but it's also
ridiculous.
Like, there's a whole bunch of people online that are saying, no, it's Gary Mitchell. And if you remember the old Star Trek, remember the old Star Trek, okay? There was a guy, and it was in the pilot episode, Gary Mitchell, who ended up having like those mind powers. But I'm thinking, what is Kirk going to do? Chris Pine Kirk. What does he say? Mitchell! Not as cool as saying Khan, right?
That's the thing, like, so many people are arguing for Mitchell, but I just do not see that happening. Like, especially with what they've shown in the teaser. Like, for me, I don't see any, like, Gary Mitchell in that. And as far as, like, it possibly being Khan, I feel like it may be something like Khan adjacent, because it just seems too obvious to have Khan be the villain in the second movie.
Also, like there's no past history, because we've only had the one movie, so it's like, but like, what does he say, vengeance? Vengeance is pretty close. If you have vengeance, you're pretty much going to have a wrath. I think you could have a wrath after vengeance,
like,
right? That's possible.
Like, I was actually at a party last night discussing this with some people.
What was the party?
It was a birthday party.
It was a birthday party? Who was there? Were there nerd girls there?
I think I was the only nerd girl, but there were some Geekscape guys there, so we found each other. Naturally, like the geeks found each other. We like got a corner, and I think we'd clear out a room each time because we'd get really like into it and speak really loudly. Kind
of like we are now, except
just
people,
like right now.
Except people are staying.
Yeah,
That's
thank you
crazy.
by the way for staying. We really appreciate it.
So, but okay, so you're saying that it's? Are you saying it's Gary Mitchell? Do you think it's Gary Mitchell?
No, I don't think it's Gary Mitchell. Like,
all right.
Like what we discussed is that they think that instead of Khan, it may be like one of Khan's lieutenants or something. Like, so it's kind of like related to Khan, but not Khan specifically. Like what one guy suggested is that.
What would his lieutenants be named? Is his name Jerry? Also a shitty name to say really loud when you're pissed off. Jerry, you destroyed the Enterprise.
But that's the thing, we don't know. And I just feel like with the trailers, it's so obviously Khan. Like, I don't know, like that, if it were a surprise, that would be awesome. Like, if it were something different, like, I feel like they maybe want to make us think it's Khan, then have it be something else, you know? Like, the way they're doing it in the trailer, especially the Japanese extended trailer, like, they totally do the hand thing on the ground.
Question for all four of you right now.
All right.
The villain in the new Star Trek movie. He is a villain. Would you fuck him? Starting with Annie. Yes or no question?
I like bad boys, of course.
Diane.
No, I'm not a fan
No,
of
okay, just
the actor.
Yeah, it's Benedict Cumberbatch, of course.
Sabina.
Yes, it's Benedict Cumberbatch.
That's 3-1. that they would fuck the villain in the new Star Trek movie, regardless of whether his name is Gary, Jerry, or Khan. Okay, all right. I really had to get that out of my system.
Although it'd be more epic to scream Khan in bed than Jerry or Mitchell.
Isn't that the test, though, of a good name? Seriously, that's a test of a good name, because naming is an important thing, because what does that name sound like at the height of passion, right? I feel bad, and apologies to anyone here named Ira. But if your name is Ira, like, oh, fuck, Ira, it doesn't sound, I don't know, it doesn't work. I don't know, wait, you guys try it, just to see. Everyone, all four of you, try it. Height of passion. You're being fucked by Ira. Go.
Oh, Ira. No, it just does not.
Ira.
All right, now you're being fucked by Loki.
Ooh, Loki.
Oh, Loki.
Oh, Loki.
Audience, how did they do?
Oh.
Exactly. I thought it sucked too. You can do a lot better than that. You're being fucked by Loki. He's got that big staff thing, whatever that is.
I'll get
Come
on
on.
for you, Loki.
Come on, Loki fucking. Let's go. Hashtag Loki fucking if you're watching this
Hashtag Loki
streaming on
fucking.
our channel at youtube.com/PodCRASH.TV. Use the hashtag Loki fucking. Now let's go. We're going to go down the line. You're being fucked by Loki. Your best Loki as you're being banged by him.
Oh, Loki. Oh.
Oh, Loki.
Dang. Diane?
Oh, Loki. Oh.
Annie, let's see what you got. All right, supervillain suggestions from the audience. Anybody? I think we could do that for the rest of the show. What's that? Dark side. Dark side.
What?
A penguin? Okay, all right, okay, these are good suggestions. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a few minutes, okay? But I want you to come up with the villain that you're being fucked by, and you pick them, right? You've heard some good suggestions from the audience. Darkseid, is it his full name, Darkseid? And it's spelled S-E-I-D, right? How is that pronounced, Darkseid? Has there been a correct, is it Darkseid or Darkseid? How is it pronounced? Okay. Darkseid, okay. But like, you guys pick one, and we're going to do one later on in the show, but I really want you guys to listen very carefully. I still feel like I don't have a complete answer to this question. Passion, see, I tricked you on the passion thing. Because, see, then you got passionate. We started talking about the new Star Trek trailer. I think it looks awful. I'm not convinced. I like that first Star Trek movie. Not completely convinced about this new one. But you know, you guys really stepped up and you got really mad, and I could see the fire. And then we talked about Gary Mitchell and Jerry. Jerry, the new Star Trek villain.
I mean, for me, I try not to be too judgmental, but I do draw the line when people don't read the books or the comics first before watching the movie. So that's my...
Do the audiobooks count? Because that's what I read.
I think so, because, since we're all in podcasts, I think audiobooks are kind of like the original podcast.
I'm very well listened.
Yeah, very well listened.
I'm very well listened. So,
yeah. But then I don't mind girls who came in through the Avengers movie and then they started reading the comic books after they watched the movie and became really passionate about it, you know? So there's like this whole, it's just each person is different.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, unfortunately, Twilight is apparently a gateway drug, even though I can compare it to sniffing glue.
So you think the real geek girls hate Twilight?
I wouldn't say that. I feel like, if you're a knowledgeable person, you got into it when you were younger. I hate Twilight. But there are some people, they started with Twilight, and then they're like, oh my God, this is awesome. I'm like, want to see something more awesome? This over here, this drug over here is Doctor Who. You will wonder why you were sniffing glue, which is a really good thing. I mean, a lot of people
if they ever answer the question, and Doctor Who Live is also tonight for those of you that are sticking around, should be watching Doctor Who Live. Have they ever answered in the series why I'm going to regenerate into another person? I'm going to be another British white guy. Which one will I be? And he's pretty much always been a British white guy, right? It's pretty much. Will we ever see a female Doctor Who?
I want to see a
male
female Doctor
companion?
I want a female Doctor Who.
Yeah, or Nathan Fillion as Doctor Who. That would be amazing.
That's the dream casting of everyone. Is Nathan Fillion? He always comes up. He always comes up, Nathan Fillion, in almost any casting.
And I feel like it would be okay if Nathan Fillion were Doctor Who, because a lot of superheroes now are like from the UK. Why can't we have an American Doctor Who?
Yeah, and Nathan Fillion should just be everything.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, we wouldn't.
But I mean,
He's busy being Castle right now, okay? So.
But like in Star Trek, the universe Star Trek is very, gender and ethnically diverse. It's alien diverse. It's a very diverse. But I feel like there's certain series that like it's taken them maybe some time, and I think Doctor Who, and I love Doctor Who. It's just like it's always a British dude, and it's always a cute British dude. Like now, first they were kind of these like wiser dudes, right? Now they've kind of aged them down to like they're starting with Christopher Eccleston. Where do you guys stand on that? And do you want to fuck Doctor Who? Just go on and just answer any of those in whatever order.
David Tennant, Doctor Who, is my doctor.
Okay.
Same here. I'm all about the Tenant.
And to be honest, I've never really watched the old Doctor Who. That's where I fail. But like, I think the new Doctor Who is just aiming for people like me who didn't really get into it in the original series. But this new series really appeals to me, and I'm really into anything that has to do with space and aliens.
It's okay that you weren't into it, because I remember watching those on PBS when I was a kid, the older, like the Tom Baker ones with the shitty special effects, and they're just like horrible, but that's what I love about Doctor Who that's so charming. It's like in the prop department, well, we got these giraffe costumes and some canoes, and maybe you guys can make a story out of that, possibly an episode of Doctor Who. So then it's the planet of the giraffe head people that come down. But I think that's a testament to the creativity. And what I also loved about those is, like with any British show, it was always, if it was in the studio, it was shot on video, and if they went outside, it was shot on 16mm film, so it had a different look. Which I would love to see an episode of the modern Doctor Who where they're like, if they're indoors, it's video, and if they're outside, it's shot on film. That would just be. Obviously, I'm the only one that thinks that, so I'm going to move on to another topic. In terms of like your like what attracts you to a dude, like I feel like what I notice about Geek Girls is they're way more aggressive. Like I feel like there's some guys here. Guys, you might get hit on tonight by a Geek Girl. And I just feel like with that, because the attraction ends up being much easier because you can. I like Star Trek. You like Star Wars. That attraction is much easier. That connection is easier to make at the beginning. So I've heard tales of Geek Girls being more aggressive. Please speak to that and then give us your secret.
Okay, so
Does this story end with you getting fucked by Loki? I'm just finding out, or a guy dressed as Loki.
Always.
I actually had a recent conversation with my close friend who is my ex-fiance. And I was just like, I've been having trouble dating guys. I'm in the South Bay, so there's like a lot of bros and stuff, and like really, just different scenes. And I just can't do it and don't get the hang of it. And I freak out. I'm like, what am I going to do? I haven't met anyone and stuff. And he was like, well, you were the one who talked to me. And I actually completely forgot about this in a way. I'm a terrible ex-girlfriend. But he was like really shy. We were in math class and math class, geometry, first period. And he was listening to Muse on his iPod, and I've loved Muse. Like I have a lot of relatives from like Mexico, so like they had like this like Mexican cable that would bring up had like European channels, European music channels, and actually played music videos. So I got introduced to Muse really early on, and so I was really into them. And then he was playing them on his iPod, and I was the one who was like, "Oh my God, you like Muse?" And I started the conversation there. And then he also reminded me that he was the one who gave me his number. And it was under like a sort of like, hey, do you need help with math or something? And I was like, yeah, sure, I suck at math. And so he like gave me his number, and I was the one who called him. And so then, I initiated it, and I just, since then I'm like, maybe I am going to be
So
like
listen
more.
to Muse and give girls your number.
And be good at math, because I'm still really terrible at math.
Just talk to us like normal people.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, what kind of, I told you about this a long, long time ago. Guys used to give me just free shit, just because. And one guy...
It's because we're dumb. It's just because we're dumb. And it's also because you have boobs. So you have boobs, you're into shit that we're into, and I'm not that bright. I will buy you a PS3. Why not? I don't know.
PS2, actually.
Oh, it was a PS2?
long time
A
ago.
guy bought you a PS2? What?
Well, he played it like, oh, I have an extra PS2. Would you like to have it? And I'm like, fuck yeah, give it to me. So,
What guy has an extra PS2?
and I didn't give him anything back. So, so you get, but you know, yeah. I mean, and you really shouldn't do that because girls are bitches. But no,
They're
honestly,
booing him because he was an idiot, right,
Yeah.
guys? He was kind of an idiot.
yeah. You just gotta talk to us like normal people, and then you gotta keep a mystery going because
Yeah.
we girls like the mystery. We're like, oh, this guy is kind of really nice, and he's into stuff that I am into, and just be smooth about it. Like, oh, can I add
When you say
on-
mystery, would it be weird if I showed up on a date and I have like my normal clothes on, but underneath you can see my superhero costume?
That would be awesome.
How would that be? Like if I did that,
Yeah.
would you think that was cool?
Yes.
Be like, and then
Definitely.
I would be mysteriously texting and like just
Oh, no, don't
having to
text.
leave and go, you know.
Well,
like-
take a phone call in the middle of the date, but don't text during like a
Right.
conversation. Yeah.
or like my cape is sticking out of my back.
That would be
Oh,
awesome.
just got back from that thing.
Or get one of those Power Ranger toys with the like the do and be like, oh, I'm sorry, I gotta take this.
Right.
Go to the bathroom for 5 minutes, come back and be like, whew, you know.
Guys, you might not know this, but if we're anywhere and we hear like the Power Rangers ringtone, we will be like, "Where's this person?"
We're like meerkats. We'll be like, where?
You know what? I think it's time for our final edition of the fanfic theater.
The epic conclusion
Let me
to
put on my
fanfic
mask.
theater.
Here we go. And when we last had... Oh, wait, I have those. Oh, yes, I'm arranging the pages as I'm looking at this. But when we last had Bruce and Dick, Batman said, the exercise is called crossing swords. And here it begins. If you can defeat me at crossing swords, then you may have your shorts back. Although, my young Dick, it is only fair to warn you that it took me years to defeat Ra's al Ghul.
He must have been very skilled to have defeated you, Master Wayne.
Well, he was very tall.
Thought Bruce. Bruce then explained the ancient art of crossing swords and how it strengthens the sword bearer.
Are you ready to begin, my young Dick?
I am Master Wayne.
They then proceeded with their turgid duel. The droplets of water on Dick's body turned into a tense sweat. Bruce was pleased and yet shocked by Dick's sudden ferocity, the strength in his attacks. Dick had such stamina. Each took their turn grunting as their swords crossed. Much to Bruce's surprise, Dick seemed to be beating him at this duel.
Not possible!
Bruce managed to say before Dick completely overcame him. Dick won the battle of crossing swords. Once their duel was finished, they lay on the floor, panting.
I clearly chose well, my young Dick. Or perhaps it is fair to say that you are now the master. Master Grayson, you now have your shorts back.
Thank you, Bruce.
Dick then smiles coyly.
The end. That was fanfic theater, which is, wow. So that's the kind of, do you get off on that? Just like, because I thought, to me, I'm like, let's get to the punching and the fighting and stuff. And I think, what was the subtext there?
Oh, clearly the subtext is about a mentor taking under his pupil and, giving him the strength that he has himself.
Passing on strength.
Yeah, passing on strength, obviously.
Why is it most fanfic that's on the internet is basically dudes having sex? Is there something with that? Like, because there's a thing. There's guys like some guys. I'm not me, but a lot of guys like when girls hook up together. There's something about that. Visually, it's cool. Are girls now into guys hooking up like Batman and Robin, Kirk and Spock?
It's been around.
We've
for
always
years.
have been.
I mean,
with Japanese.
Doctor Who and the
Ally.
companion's boyfriend.
I mean, I used to. I'm still into anime and manga, and it's been around for years in Japan. A lot of girls are into yaoi, which is basically guys on guys and
Yuri.
Yuri girls. And there's been a lot of discussions on why girls are into boys making love to each other. And mostly, I think the conclusion is that it takes away the female element.
So there's no competition if you're the female reader. Like, there's not a female character in there where you're like, well, she's a slut, I hate her. You know, it's just like all the guys. So it's like you're able to insert yourself in there. Like, that's our argument. Like,
I just think it's hot.
Speaking of competition, we're nearing the end of our show, and our audience will choose Geek Girl of the Year. Come on! This is a real thing. This is a prestigious event.
Can we have our final,
This is what
final closing?
Yes, closing. Yes, as if you've already run. You're all beauty queens. But there's something you need to do. Something you need to do first. But your final statements before we judge. Quickly, Annie, go. Final statements. Why should you win as Geek Girl of the Year? That's great. Okay, Diane.
I learned how to read with comic books. The end.
Jizzy.
when my mom asked me what I wanted my third birthday to be themed after, I said Batman.
Sabina.
I would give the world friendly dinosaurs for all of us to have and ride.
Annie, I'm going to give you one more shot.
She's adorable.
Okay, and our final thing, I want each of you, one at a time, I asked you earlier, pick your supervillain. Supervillain, a bad guy from anywhere, fanfic, comics, movies, whatever. And you're screaming their name at the top of your lungs in ecstasy. You're each going to have 5 seconds. Pick one. And the choices will matter. The choices will matter. So whoever's name you're screaming out loud, I don't think it'll be Gary Mitchell. But let's see. Go for it. Annie.
Pudding.
How do you know that?
Oh, Magneto.
Oh, Mr. J.
Dexter.
All right. Stiff competition. By show of applause with our audience, we're going to pick Geek Girl of the Year. Annie. Show of applause. Diane. Sabina. Giselle. It's very close. It's close. I'm gonna do it again. It's right there. Jizzy and Sabina. Jizzy B. Sabina. Jizzy B is the winner. Jizzy B is the Geek Girl of the Year. What do you have to say?
Thank you. Oh my God, it's been my dream. What am I wearing? Like, ow. It's, oh my God, it is just, let's just keep on.
You always come with a lot of responsibility, but Sabina will be here as your backup in case you're unable to perform your duties as Geek Girl of the Year. Jizzy, what do you have to say for yourself?
Thank you, my adoring fans. It is everything I've ever. Fake.
You had me at Mr. J. Hey, I want to thank all of you guys for being here tonight and having
you
such
so
a good
much.
sense of humor. Annie, Diane, Jizzy, Sabina. I want to thank you, the audience, for coming out here tonight, too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming, everyone. It means so much to us.
And I want to end the show by saying, let's get out of here. The audience, please join me in a
Let's get out of here.
Okay, that sucked. One more time. One more time. Come on!
Let's get out of here.
Thank you. Well, that's it for this live episode of PodCRASH. I really want to thank the Defective Geeks, Annie Violet, Sabina, Diane, and Jizzy B. You guys are great. You can follow them on the internet. So you can actually just go to defectivegeeks.com and you'll get all of that information. You can also follow them at Defective Geeks. And you can follow Giselle at Petra Giselle. Petra and Giselle. Follow her. Follow Diane Garcia. She's the Space Pirate Queen, and her Twitter is at Punkagogo. At Punkagogo. Follow her, and just follow the Defective Geeks at Defective Geeks. They're awesome. You just heard them. They're amazing. You heard them do their best experience with a villain from a film, because apparently we learned that villains are very popular with geek ladies. So I don't know, guys, bank that fact when you're talking to the geek girls. They like the villainous dudes. They were great. Thank you. Come to one of our live shows. We're doing it monthly at IO West. But we're going to be taking it on the road this summer. So I really hope that you guys show up for that. And I also want to thank the people at Sideshow Network. I'm a part of the Sideshow Network. This is amazing. You guys should listen to some of the other Sideshow Network shows. So when you're looking the show up on iTunes, please give us a 5-star review. Post a review of the show on there. 5 stars if you think we deserve it, and post some sort of review on there. I'll read them on the show, and then also it just helps boost us up in the rankings, and I appreciate that. And one final thing I need to say to you, which is, let's get out of here.
For true love!
Hey, if you're still listening to this, you're probably a lot like me. You're the kind of guy who would check out a geek girl at some convention and then be too afraid to speak to her because you're socially awkward and nerdy. If you are doing that, you're probably a lot like me, and that means that I like you. Or you're a nerdy girl, and that means I also like you. So, yeah. And if that is true, then we're a lot alike. And for that, you shall be rewarded. Send a self-addressed stamped envelope to PodCRASH with that Chris Gore, 5042 Wilshire Boulevard, PMB 1500, Los Angeles, California 90036. I will return the self-addressed stamped envelope with a PodCRASH fan club kit. It's absolutely free. All you need to send is a self-addressed stamped envelope. And if you send a really large self-addressed stamped envelope with maybe a couple dollars, maybe $2 or $3 in return postage, I'll throw in a free DVD from a giant stack of DVDs that I have no intention of watching, or I've seen and I didn't like the movie, or maybe it had too much nudity. I don't know. Please be over 18 if you're going to send me one of these self-addressed stamped envelopes. And I'm going to send you a DVD if you send me a large $2 or $3 in postage. I will send you a DVD. I will send you a DVD along with your PodCRASH fan club kit. Later.